Hi guys, welcome to Dubs Only Sports. This is episode 27. Before we get into anything, make sure to follow us on our social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, at Dubs Only Sports, and go check out our YouTube and our Spotify in order to watch the full episodes. Today, baseball season is right around the corner. Spring training starts at the end of this month, and the season starts on March 30th. But today we are going to do a deep dive into who we think, where we think every team is going to place this year in standings. That goes for both AL and NL. We're going to go through the East, West, and Central. Where would you like to start?
So let's start with the AL Central. Who do you got in the AL Central?
So the AL Central is just one of those divisions where it's very mid. If we're going through it, I like the Guardians winning it. I like the Twins finishing second. The Tigers third, White Sox fourth, Royals last. That is my five.
Why? Like why?
Why
What do you
what?
think about
That is
you they're just
why
mid? They're just
they're all mid. Like, you can put them anywhere. I just know that the Guardians will finish top and the Twins will finish second. That's it. Because the Twins are getting the wild card spot. That's it.
it's all you think.
That's it. There's nothing else
All
to
right.
it.
That's true. That's true. I mean, that's kind of a mid division. So for the AL Central, I have the Guardians first. They have really good pitching with Shane Bieber and Tristan McKenzie. So they have some guys there. The Twins at number two because they have a good lineup. They just signed Correa again. And I feel like their offense will be able to carry them. They just traded for Pablo Lopez from the Marlins, so I feel like that'll be good. At number three, I have the White Sox. This team had major expectations the last few years and has underperformed every year. And I just don't think that they're that good. They lost Jose Abreu. They have Dylan Cease. They have a decent lineup. They have Tim Anderson, but I don't think they're that great. At number four, I have the Tigers. I think that AJ Hinch needs to get this team going in the right direction. They had some potential, but I don't know. Like the Tigers and Royals are both really mid teams. So I have the Tigers finishing fourth just because I think they have a better coach. At number five, I have the Royals because I don't know, like whatever. No one cares about them. But yeah, this division is probably the worst division in baseball. It's just absolutely pathetic.
The Royals have been signing way too much pitching. Like, to be honest, I feel like the pitching is not what they should be worried about. Maybe some
They
position
can't
players is
hit.
what we
They
should be
can't
worried
hit.
about.
Yeah, the Royals
So
can't hit. I don't know what they're doing. This is just a mid division. That's why we went so quickly because they're just these teams are terrible.
it's
Then
horrible.
let's go to the AL East. This is actually a very good division, very intriguing division. Who do you got? And give me the order of the standings and like why do you think these teams are going to place where they are?
Alrighty, so for the AL East, I've got Yankees winning it again. Aaron Judge, powerhouse. You look at Jose Trevino. Oh my
Aaron
God,
Judge?
yeah. And so, you just look at that team, and they're clearly powerhouses in a powerhouse division right now. So I've got the Yankees finishing first in that division. Second, I'm gonna go with the Toronto Blue Jays. They've got a really good pitching rotation and guys like Manoa, and they also have, like, they still have George Springer. They still have Vladdy Jr. and Vladdy Jr. has yet to have a season where he is like truly popping off. I feel like, he's had some injuries and some setbacks, which have really just kind of like startled it a little bit. But I feel like this could be like the year that the Blue Jays actually make something happen. I could potentially see them winning the division, but the Yankees are just still a powerhouse at this point. Number three, I've got the Baltimore Orioles. I'm a huge advocate for the Orioles. I love them so much. I want them to win a World Series in like 2027, 2020, 2028. So I have the Orioles finishing third. And then under them, I have the Red Sox finishing fourth. The Red Sox they were horrible last year. And I just feel like that the chemistry that they have, especially with like the farm system that they have from the Dodgers, they basically are the second Dodgers team at this point. So I feel like that's going to go a really long way with them, with Justin Turner, with Kenley Jansen. And then you look at, guys like Rafael Devers. They just have a really stacked lineup. And I think, the Red Sox, they won't do much, but they won't finish last in the AL East. Speaking of last in the AL East, the Rays. The Rays are just like one of those teams where they're either good or they're not. I just, yes, they have a really good lineup, and yes, they have a really good pitching rotation. But I just think they'll struggle against their own division. And especially with all the interleague coming on, it's like something new, it's something to experience. And I just feel like they wouldn't be able to handle that. So for me, my standings go Yankees, Blue Jays, Orioles, Red Sox, Rays.
Oh my God, bro. That's absolutely wild, bro. I have the Blue Jays finishing first. I think that their lineup is stacked and they improve their rotation. In the rotation, they have Manoah, they have Barrios, they just signed Chris Bassett, they have Gosman, they have a ton of guys. Their lineup is absolutely stacked, arguably the best lineup in baseball with Springer, Vladdy, Bo Bichette. They have guys everywhere. Um, I think they're going to win the division. Second, I have the Yankees. I don't think the Yankees are that great. We saw last year they got absolutely pummeled by the Astros in the ALCS. They have a decent lineup, but their pitching, I know they signed Rodon, they have Garrett Cole, but their pitching depth isn't great, and their lineup strikes out way too much, and that makes them like not a threat in the postseason at all. At number three, I have the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't know how you have them last in your division, but the Tampa Bay Rays have one of the best pitching staffs over the last 10 years out of any team in baseball. They don't have a great lineup, but they find a way to score some runs. Glasnow is coming back from Tommy John. They have Shane McClanahan. They have guys. I don't know what you're saying that they're going to finish last in the division. They are definitely not going to finish last in the division. At number four, I'm going with the Boston Red Sox. I think that they have a ton of veterans that are going to play pretty well. They have Devers, and then of course, they got Kenley Jansen and Justin Turner. They have Kike Hernandez. They have some guys. I think that they'll finish fourth. I know they traded away
It's the
Xander
Dodgers. It's
Bogaerts.
literally the Dodgers from
It's
like
literally the
2016.
Dodgers. It's literally the Dodgers. And then the Dodgers are the Red Sox because the Dodgers got JD Martinez and Mookie Betts. So it's crazy, but
Crazy.
I think that the Red Sox are going to finish fourth in the division. Five, I have the Orioles. I think that the Orioles are on the come up, and I totally agree. I just I could see the Orioles finishing fourth in the division. I don't think that they're going to finish third because I think that there's three teams that are really good in this division, but I could see the Orioles finishing third, but I would have the Orioles at five. I think that their pitching depth isn't where it needs to be right now. They have a decent lineup. They have some young guys coming up. Adley Rutschman is a star, but they have some work to do. But that's my division. I just to recap: Blue Jays, Yankees, Rays, Red Sox, and Orioles.
Yeah, it's a very hard it's a hard division to like, come by because again, like the Yankees are like one of those teams where they can like flake so hard to the point where they just don't even make it to the playoffs.
No, they're
But
gonna make it to the playoffs, but it's just
yeah,
like
like I just feel like
they're
coming
just
off
gonna
their
be
like year
mid.
last year and especially
Well,
like the
like last year, they had the
postseason,
best record in baseball by so much. Like they were up by
yeah,
20 games, and then
they
they
will do
just
the
barely
same.
made they barely squeezed into the playoffs. It was crazy.
Yeah,
And
and
then let's
that's
go to
it.
the AL West next. Who do you have for the AL West?
So AL West, I've got my World Series pick. Seattle Mariners are winning the division. I don't care what you say, okay? The Astros are on a steady downfall. I'm not saying that the Astros are not going to make it to the playoffs. I'm just saying that the Astros aren't going to make it to the World Series. And in, like a few, or not a few years' time, but definitely in like 6 or 7 years, we literally will not see the Astros in the playoffs whatsoever. So I've got the Mariners winning the AL West, followed by the Astros, to be fair, because they still are a really good team with Jeremy Pena, with Jordan Alvarez, and their pitching staff isn't the greatest, but it's still like, it's
This is insane, bro.
it's pretty reasonable pitching staff. I personally don't like the
Oh my
Astros
god,
pitching staff.
that's
And then
wild.
in third, I've got the Rangers. They've got, they've just signed DeGrom. They've got Corey Seager, and I'm blanking on so many players today.
Marcus
Um,
Simeon, bro.
yeah, Marcus Simeon. And so I feel like the Rangers again, like AL West is very like you look at the Mariners and you look at the Astros, and they're clearly like the two top dogs in that division. And then everyone else is just kind of like fighting for third. But I feel like if we've got to split them up, I would just have the Rangers third, the Angels fourth, because they still have Mike Trout, they still have Shohei Ohtani, and they're still good players, but they just can never seem to make it work. Maybe they prove us all wrong and they figure it out this year. And then last, I've got the Oakland Athletics. They probably won't even be the Oakland Athletics after this year. I would be shocked. They are just so like the entire franchise has just gone on a steady like it's just been so bad.
They're on a
And
steady downfall, but yeah.
yeah, but to recap, Mariners, Astros, Rangers, Angels, Athletics. That's my
Okay.
five.
So for the AL West, I have the Astros finishing first in the division. I don't know what you're saying, but the Astros are by far the best team in this
They're not
division.
going to the World
They're
Series, brother.
their lineup is stacked. They have Jordan Alvarez, Jeremy Pena, Altuve, Kyle Tucker. They're a really good team. Their pitching staff, they lost Verlander, but they still have a ton of guys. They added Jose Abreu to their lineup. Their pitching staff still has Framber Valdez. They're still stacked. At number
Who?
two, I have the Mariners. The Mariners are going to be a very good team this year. Julio Rodriguez, J Rod is the future. So he is an absolute star. He's a rising star in this game. So I think
JP
that the Mariners are
Crawford.
They just traded for Teoscar Hernandez, who's a really good outfield
Yeah.
bat. They have some guys. They need to hit a little better, but I feel like their pitching staff is solid with Castillo and Robbie Ray. At number three in the division, I have the Texas Rangers. I think that they made some nice improvements, but I don't think they're going to be that great. I think they'll be like a little under 500 this year. Their pitching staff, everyone's hyping up their pitching staff because they have like Evaldi, Gray. They have DeGrom, of course. They signed Andrew Heaney, but I still think that a lot of those guys are very average pitchers. I know DeGrom is a stud, but other like some of the other guys aren't great. But I think that the Rangers with Corey Seager, Simeon, they'll start getting it turned in the right direction. I think they'll finish third in the division. At number four, I have the Los Angeles Angels, the most pathetic franchise in the MLB. They are absolutely embarrassing. To have the two best players in baseball and to not make the playoffs one time with them is absolutely amazing to me. But they're gonna finish like 70 and 90 next year, be an absolutely terrible team because they have no pitching and they can't develop pitching. And at number five in the division, we got the Oakland Athletics. I think that they're going to finish with the worst record in baseball. They're going to get absolutely pummeled this year. They have absolutely no stars, no talent, no nothing, and they're going to finish fifth in the division. So that's my AL West.
Yep. It's just the two top spots that we disagree with
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
think the Mariners are going to win the World Series. But hey,
Yeah. And
anyways,
then let's go to the NL East. This is a little controversial, but let's go to the NL East. Who do you have in the NL East?
so NL East, I've got the Phillies winning the division, finishing first place. Go Philly sports. Yeah, I mean, adding Trey Turner whilst having Bryce Harper and Reese Hoskins, they've just got such a powerhouse team. I want them to score like so many runs on like every game. I want it to be like 7 runs scored for them and just like, constantly like defeat everyone's pitching, especially with all the interleague games. It'll be very interesting to see like how they do against AL pitching because as we know, AL pitching is a lot worse than NL pitching. So for them to go into games where they're facing pitchers that are just not as good as to what they were compared to the year before, I feel like it'll definitely be a step down for them and they just need to take full advantage of that. So I've got the Phillies winning the NL East.
What are you saying,
Then
bro?
after the Phillies, I've got the Mets. You look at guys like Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor. They've got bats. The Mets are a team to get hot at certain points. It's usually like right after the All-Star break, the Mets get really hot, and then like they will like go to the top, but then they will slowly start falling down. So I feel like that's exactly what'll happen. They will go to the top, but then the Phillies, they'll just be consistent. They'll stay hot, and they will win the division. And then under them, I have
Don't
under
do it, bro.
them, I have the Miami Marlins.
Oh my God.
We're Sandy Alcantara pitching, and a lot of these young guys coming up in the
Dude,
league.
no, stop. You don't even
I think
believe
the
this.
Marlins.
You believe this.
I think the Marlins are really going to make a name for themselves this year. Under them, I have the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves are never healthy. Ozzie Albies, Acuna Jr. can never stay healthy at the same time. So the same thing's going to happen this year. Somebody's going to get injured and something's going to happen. And they're just going to have the one guy. And especially with Dansby Swanson leaving, you had Freddie Freeman leaving a few years ago. They've clearly been, they've been dealing with it. They did very well last year with having an 100-win record. And good for them. I'm very happy. But I feel like the Braves just aren't that team. And I feel like the Marlins will just make a name for themselves this year and go ahead of the Braves. And then I've got the Nationals finishing in last because nobody plays for the Nationals. And that's my pick for the NL East. I have Phillies, Mets, Marlins, Braves, and Nationals.
I don't know what crap you've been on, bro, but that is ridiculous. That is absolutely asinine
Oh
to have the
my
Marlins finishing
days.
above the Braves. Okay,
Oh,
let's go through the NL East. Let's go through it right now.
if you
My
have the
standings
Braves
in the
first, I'm pissed.
my standings in the NL East next year, I have the Mets finishing first. They just
Okay.
signed Justin Verlander. They have Max Scherzer. They have a ton of star players right now. They have Lindor, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo's playing really well. They just signed a ton of players this offseason. So I think that they're going to win the division. They should have won it last year, but they choked at the end of the year. At number two, I have the Braves. This team is so deep. They have a great pitching staff, Max Fried, Spencer Strider. They have tons of players. And then their
Spencer
offense,
Strider. Are you
Spencer Strider's
kidding
is
me?
Cy Young contender, bro. I don't hear
Oh
this crap.
my
And then they
God.
have tons of players, and then their offense, they still have Acuna Jr. Michael Harris is coming up. They still have their lineup is plenty deep. They have Austin Riley, who's an MVP candidate every year. Dude, come on. At number 3, the Phillies. I think that the Phillies might do better in the postseason than the Braves, but I think that the Phillies are going to finish third because their pitching depth isn't great. They have Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola and Ranger Suarez, but I know they just signed Taijuan Walker, but they don't have a ton of depth in their pitching staff, and if any of them get injured, they're kind of screwed. Their lineup is very good, but I think their lineup is probably the best in this division. But I'm just a little concerned because Trey Turner, as good as he is, never shows up in the playoffs. So hopefully he can right the ship, show up in the playoffs. But I like their lineup. Bryce Harper's going to come back and be a stud. Reese Hoskins is a monster. They showed why they're a really good lineup in the postseason last year, just absolutely dominating the best pitching in the baseball. At number 4, we have the Miami Marlins. They have one of the best pitchers in baseball, and Sandy Alcantara. They just signed some under the radar guys. They signed like Gene Segura, some random guys, but they'll be a decent team. But to say that they're gonna be better than the
Random
Braves,
guys.
absolutely.
What?
They signed random guys. Gene Segura, random guy. The Marlins are a solid team. They probably will finish like 70 and 90, but for you to say that they're gonna finish above the Braves is absolutely ludicrous. And then
Bro, the
at number
Braves are
five in
not
the
them,
division,
bro.
the number 5 in the division, we got the Washington Nationals. This team is absolutely gutted. They have no players. They'll probably lose 100 games, but it's fine. They're playing in arguably the best division in baseball, but that's my NL East stand. Oh my God. All right, and then
Dude, there are no physical trainers in Atlanta.
what are you talking about? The Atlanta Braves? Like, where do you get this from? Have you even been watching the
Watch,
games?
watch. Patience, patience.
Oh my God.
Watch,
All right,
watch.
and then let's go. Screw it. Let's go to the NL West right now.
Thank God.
This is a good division, but let me start with my NL West standings. So in the NL West, I have the Padres finishing first. All I got to say is the Padres better finish first in this division because their lineup and roster is absolutely stacked. They better finish first or else they'll be a total embarrassment. They have Fernando Tatis. They have Juan Soto. They have Manny Machado. They have Yu Darvish. They have Blake Snell. They have Joe Musgrove. They have Xander Bogaerts. I mean, this team is absolutely stacked with talent. They better win the division. At number 2, I have the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think that both the Dodgers and the Padres will finish with over 100 wins. Everyone's writing the Dodgers off because they lost Trey Turner. They lost a few other guys. They lost Justin Turner. But the Dodgers are going to be the same team this year. They're going to be a really good team. Their lineup is still very good. They still have tons of players. They have Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. They just signed JD Martinez, who's a 300 hitter for his career, and the shift has been banned. So he's going to hit great this year. Max Muncy's going to have a bounce back year. Miguel Vargas is coming up. So the Dodgers are going to be perfectly fine. We just need our pitching rotation to stay healthy. We need Dustin May to develop. Bobby Miller is going to come up this year. Bobby Miller's a stud. Watch out for Bobby Miller. But the Dodgers will be good this year. It'll set up a big NLDS matchup between the Padres and Dodgers later this year in October. At number 3, we have the San Francisco Giants. They signed some under the radar guys like Michael Conforto, but they still have a ton of old guys, a ton of veterans. But they're a decent team, but they're nothing like what they were a few years ago when they won 107 games, and they just don't have that magic anymore. So I have them finishing third in the division. At number 4, I have the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think that they're actually on the come up. They have some good prospects like Corbin Carroll. They have some guys that can come up and really take a step and make this franchise better. So I think that the Diamondbacks will finish fourth in the division. I actually really like their best pitcher. Zach Gallen is one of the best under the rated pitchers in baseball. So I think that will really help them, and they'll finish fourth in the division. At number 5, we have the Rockies. This franchise came out, their GM came out and said, or I think their owner came out and said that they'll be happy if they finish 500 this year. Like, dude, what? Like, who says this stuff? They have absolutely no desire to win. This team is going to be very mid this year, and I just don't think that I see anything from them. They signed Chris Bryant last offseason, but it doesn't make a difference. This team cannot pitch. They've never been able to pitch in Coors Field, and until they find a way to get a good pitching staff, they're not going to be a good team. Their lineup, they've lost a lot of their star players like Nolan Arenado. They still have Charlie Blackmon and Chris Bryant. They have a few guys, but they can't pitch well enough to stay in this division. So I have Padres, Dodgers, Giants, Diamondbacks, and Rockies.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree for the NL West. Up top, Padres, if they're not winning it, there's definitely a problem there. They've spent so much money. They've just signed Yu Darvish to an 8-year or a 6-year, 8 year, 6 year, 6 year extension, $100 million deal. Like they've got the pitching, they've got the players now with Juan Soto. Fernando Tatis Jr. is finally going to be coming back from his PED suspension. You look at guys like even under the radar guys like Nelson Cruz. Like I know he's not the greatest guy, but to have him in a DH spot, that's exactly what the Padres need. And then coming in second, I have the Dodgers. They've still got some great guys, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy. They've got a really good team there. They have, they lost a lot of players in the offseason, but they kind of needed to. They were really holding on to these players because of what they were doing from like 2015 to like now, where they were constantly going to the playoffs, and it would literally be like luck based whether or not they'd choke in the playoffs or not. Last year they choked against the Padres, and I think they'll be doing that all of this season as well. Then at number 3, I also have the Giants. Just a bunch of veterans that can't seem to play together, but they still manage to win games sometimes. The young guys really do carry the team, but I can't really see them getting above either the Dodgers or the Padres because they're just going to dominate that division. It's literally just going to be the battle of those two teams while everyone like I would be shocked if the Giants, Diamondbacks, and Rockies were all above 500, to be fair. I just feel like it won't happen. But moving on, Diamondbacks, fourth in the division. Like you said, they're pitching and Galleon. He's definitely on.
Gallium.
Bro, I swear there's an E in there. Dude, okay.
It's Gallon. Gallon. No
Gallon,
O.
Gallon on the pitching. He's definitely gonna get traded. And
Traded.
no, like not this, but he's gonna, he's a really good pitcher, and it's just like, he's not being able to pitch to the best of his abilities because he's on the wrong team. He's got no defense behind him. So I can definitely see him getting traded, if not this year, then next year. And then coming in last, I've got the Rockies. Like you said, they're not even like they're looking to finish 500 in a division where you're playing with the Dodgers and the Padres. That is just not the mindset to have. You literally need to have a mindset to win every game that you play, or else you're just not going to go anywhere. So the Rockies and Chris Bryant, he's literally just there for the paycheck. He's not even there to win championships. He's there to just get paid absolute bank. So again, Dodgers,
the bag, bro.
Padres, Giants, Diamondbacks, Rockies are my 5.
All
so
right.
we agree on that, at least. We agree on the NL West.
One thing, yeah. And then the NL Central, the second most irrelevant division in baseball. No one cares about this division unless you're from the Midwest. I don't want to hear all these Cardinals fans. Shut up. No one cares about the NL Central. But I'll get into my NL Central standings. I have the Cardinals at number 1. They have the former MVP and Paul Goldschmidt. They have Nolan Arenado. They just signed Wilson Contreras. They have a very good lineup. They have some young guys coming up, and they still have like Tommy Edman. Dylan Carlson's a really good outfield bat, and he's a young upcoming player. We'll see how their pitching staff is. We'll see how healthy they are. We'll see if Jack Flaherty is able to return to his form. But I think that the Cardinals will finish first in this division because it's a terrible division. At number 2, we have the Milwaukee Brewers. This team is so average in so many ways, but they have still a really good rotation with Corbin Burns, Freddie Peralta. They have a ton of good pitchers. And I just think that, and Brandon Woodruff, but I think that if they trade Corbin Burns, they might finish third. But if they keep Corbin Burns, they can finish second in this division and possibly sneak into a wild card spot. At number 3, we have the Chicago Cubs. They made some very good moves this offseason. They signed Dansby Swanson. They signed Cody Bellinger. They made some nice moves this offseason. I think that they will really improve as a team, and they'll be able to eventually have a solid core, and then they'll be able to bring up some young guys. So I think that the Cubs are back on the come up. At number 4, we have the Cincinnati Reds. A few years ago, they were in the playoffs, and they were actually a decent team, and now they're just absolutely terrible because they just traded everyone. So the Cincinnati Reds are going to be terrible this year. And same thing with the Pirates. I know he's hype on O'Neal Cruz, but the Pirates are going to finish last in this division. The Reds and Pirates, I would not be surprised if they both lost 100 games. These teams are very, very bad teams. So I have Cardinals, Brewers, Cubs, Reds, and Pirates.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Let me get started with my NL Central. Winning the division is going to be the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Dude, you can't do that. No, let's give it. Go again.
Winning the division are the Cardinals. Obviously, Paul Goldschmidt MVP, Nolan Arenado. They've got some really good pitching. They just signed Wilson Contreras, like you said. Cardinals are an obvious favorite in such a crappy division. I mean, it's literally the easiest ride into the playoffs of all time. But the problem with that is that they will go into the playoffs and face a team like the Dodgers or like the Padres and just get absolutely railed over and not be able to win games. Like it's just so unfortunate for the NL Central because they're just set up for failure.
Yeah.
Just because no matter who wins the division, they're not going to get past the first round or past the wild card round in the playoffs, depending on who wins the division. But I've got the Cardinals winning the division. And second, this might be a little bit of a controversial take, but like you said with Corbin Burns getting traded, I feel like the Brewers are going to need to do something, and unfortunately, that just might be the thing that they do. And you did say that they would finish in third, and I do believe that the Brewers will finish in third in the standings, and the
I said that
Cubs.
they'd finish. I said that they'd finish in second, but I think that they could finish in third if they trade Corbin Burns.
And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. They will finish in third. I've got the Cubs finishing second. They've been on a really good come up this year in the offseason. I said that they're probably the best team in the offseason with trades to, like, especially looking at how bad they were last year. I mean, they were 19 games behind the Cardinals. They were 12 games behind the Brewers in the NL Central. And the NL Central is bad as it is. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the Cubs are going to be anything special. I just feel like the Brewers are going to make some very questionable moves that they shouldn't make because they're desperate at this point. They've got Christian Yelich, and they've had a lot of these good players in and out of the system for years now, and haven't been able to do anything with it. They've had a few not World Series appearances, a few playoff appearances here and there, but ultimately they don't go anywhere. They end up losing two teams like the Dodgers or
Braves. The
basically, yeah,
Braves.
yeah, the Braves. And so it's just unfortunate, but I have the Cubs, again, they'll barely be above 500, and then the Yankees will probably like be at like the 500 live, maybe like one win above or one win below. Literally,
Brewers,
it could be something like that.
not the Yankees. The Brewers.
The Brewers. Did I say the Yankees?
You said the Yankees.
Oh, the Brewers is what I don't know why I said the Yankees. The Yankees are just always on my mind. So yeah, and then the Pirates and the Cincinnati Reds, like as much as I love O'Neal Cruz, like they both finished with a 62 and 100 record. I can genuinely see them doing the
It's
same thing
not
this year
happening again. Yeah.
and just like tie for points. So if anything, I've got Cardinals finishing first, followed by the Cubs, the Brewers, and then who cares about the Reds and Pirates? They'll both tie for fourth.
Yeah. So that's gonna do it for the standings. We'll get into maybe some playoff predictions later on, a little closer to the season. But this MLB season, I don't think it'll be anything unexpected. I feel like honestly, if we the division, I think that the playoffs is going to be pretty obvious who's going to make the playoffs in the NL. I think it's very obvious that it's going to be in the AL East. It's going to be the Mets, Phillies, and Braves. In the NL West, it's going to be the Padres and Dodgers. And in the Central, probably the Cardinals are going to make it. So I feel like those are going to be the playoff teams. In the AL, I think it's pretty obvious who the playoff teams are going to be. I think it's going to be Yankees are going to make the playoffs. Blue Jays are going to make the playoffs. Astros are going to make the playoffs. Mariners are going to make the playoffs. Whoever wins the AL Central, whether it's the Twins or the Guardians, and then I think the last wild card spot will come up to the Rays or the Twins. But I think it's pretty obvious who's going to make the playoffs. Baseball, it's not going to be anything crazy. I don't think there's going to be some surprise team. Maybe the Rangers can make it to the playoffs. Um,
The
I just don't
Marlins.
see it. Not the Oh my God. The Marlins don't have anyone, bro. They can't hit. They can't hit. They traded away. They just traded away. Okay, they got Luis Ariz from the Twins, but they traded away Pablo Lopez, who's one of their better pitchers. So
Mhm.
maybe Luis Ariz turns into Barry Bonds and decides to hit 300 and with
Steroids.
yeah, he just goes on steroids. Right now, he has the highest average in baseball, doesn't strike out ever, has the most hits. He changes from D Gordon into Barry Bonds. So who knows? Maybe you need some miraculous things to happen, but that's gonna do
Miraculous.
it for
Gonna happen.
yeah, that's not gonna happen. So I think that the baseball this year is gonna be pretty straightforward. Nothing crazy is gonna happen, but that's gonna do it for this episode 27, I think. We'll get into some other stuff later, but the Super Bowl is coming up this weekend. It's gonna be absolutely bonkers. The Champions League is happening next week, and then we have tons of stuff gonna come out. Stay tuned in, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Is that guys?